Hi everybody, welcome back to What Day Is It with Danielle. I'm really excited to be back here. As I've said nobody's gonna see this until they watch on YouTube. So hi guys, how are you? Thank you so much for all the feedback on yesterday's live. Everybody that gave really great constructive criticism, I took it and I'm hopefully looking to incorporate it. Hi mom, how are you? My mother is here. Mom, I did get a bunch of messages that people wanted to see your comments and your thoughts and stuff. They wanted your perspective. So mom, please type your thoughts away. Of course, when it comes to the topic, what we are going to do, because of course I want to give everybody a platform to share and inspire so we can learn and grow from one another. We are going to do the same thing like yesterday because I did get a lot of good feedback that people like that format where if you have something to say it in the comments. I am going to, the live was saved for 24 hours, now it's up, but it will be up on my YouTube channel. These things are very long, the files are very, very large, and there were 3 of them, so it takes a very long time to upload. By tomorrow, it's already begun the process to be put on YouTube. By tomorrow, all of these the live from yesterday will be on YouTube, and then 2 days from now, this one will be on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you can type in youtube.com/peasloveandcarrots, PEASLOVEN carrots, and you'll go right to my page. I created a playlist of the talk show, and you'll see the episodes there. They all have that thumbnail of that purple image with either who the guest is or what the topic was. So you can definitely go back and watch yesterday's live. Okay, before we jump into today's very heavy topic, like yesterday, there was no hate in any of the messages, Baruch Hashem, but the messages were filled, I would say, with a lot of frustration and almost bordering on anger. And I saw very quickly that this topic of feminism and modesty and the role of a Jewish woman can be a very emotional and triggering topic for many, many women. So before we start, I do want to put a disclaimer that these are my thoughts on feminism. Obviously, something types that I say out loud represent a person's thoughts. If you come from a home where unfortunately a few of the messengers, people that messaged or wrote questions, where a woman was, she was abused or hurt verbally, emotionally, or physically, then one, I'm very, very sorry for everything that you have gone through or are going through. 2, I'm going to say that nothing we discuss here will pertain to your situation. I am not a therapist. I am not in any way qualified to even talk to you about that topic. I would never want anything I would say to put you in more harm or more danger. This topic of feminism, and let's say we do go to a place where women are standing up for them, like we're talking to a healthy woman from a healthy home, and if God forbid you are being abused or hurt or you're unclear, there are many, many resources for you to reach out to. You can reach out to Shalom Task Force. Literally just type Shalom Task Force in on Google. I'm pretty sure you can call OHEL and reach out to OHEL. Please get help if you can. I am not the person to help you. I do not know who to send you to for help, but I know that there is help for those that are ready to receive the help. Okay, that's one thing I want to address. Any questions that did address those will not be addressed on here because, like I said, Amudim also. You can reach out to Amudim. Shalom Task Force, Amudim, OHEL. Please reach out to them and please know that I am thinking of you and davening for you, and I hope that everybody can live in a place that is safe for them all the time. And if you aren't, I hope that you can soon. Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing, not a rabbi. What? Not a rebbitzin. What? I know. We're not discussing the halachic obligations. I'm a rabbi. Ellie said I'm a rabbani. Halavai.
You need all your kids.
Oh my gosh, and he's not a mama's boy. He is. We are not discussing the halachic obligations of dressing modestly. That is something you need to learn on your own. I will discuss my choices and how I choose to dress, but I will not discuss the sources, where they come from, if there are sources, if it is derabanan, if it is deoraisa, if it is in fact not halacha at all, just a custom. I will not be getting into that. There is too much machlokas and disagreements. It is something you need to ask your own rabbi about. If you are on a journey towards dressing more modestly, there are also resources for that, and you can definitely start with aishhatorah.com. You can start with Chabad.com. There are many, many online resources for rabbis and rebbitzins that can help guide you on your journey. Okay, and also answer your halachic questions. Okay, third disclaimer. I think that you're getting the sense of the questions that came in already. There was over 1,000 questions in the question box, so it did take me quite a while today to go through them, but I did. Okay, not related to the topic, but related to a good number of the questions in the questions box. Woo! Books. Thank you all so much for ordering the book. It does mean so much to me. For everybody that lives outside of the United States that is extremely frustrated by Amazon not being able to deliver to them, please do not take it out on me. I can't control Amazon. Even ArtScroll can't control Amazon. Amazon is a world unto themselves. Basically, because of the current situation, they have suspended shipping anywhere outside of the United States. So I know it's not fair that the book is so cheap for everybody in America. Believe me, I want to buy the book for that price also, but I live here just like you. Unfortunately, because Amazon does not deliver outside the United States right now, not even to Canada, only people in the US can order. What you can do is find a friend or somebody like that to order the book and have it shipped to them. I will tell you, if you live outside of the United States, the bookstore will, the same day it is available in America, it will be available in every Judaica bookstore all over the world. So what you can do is you can maybe go into your local bookstore. If you live in Israel, go into Manny's, go into Shinki's and say, hey, listen, I know you're getting in this cookbook. It's called Peas, Love, and Carrots. I want to pay for one now and I want to reserve it. And you can try to work something out like that with them. I am very, very sorry. Amazon basically buys the book. Amazon is the seller of the books. ArtScroll is not the seller. So what happens is Amazon places an order for books. ArtScroll gives them to the Amazon warehouse. And then the Amazon packages and delivers and ships them out all on their own. So they control the price because they pay a certain price and then they can do whatever they want with the price, based on how much money they want to make, I guess. Okay. The next thing, the lives are being saved to YouTube. We said that it takes about 2 days for the live to get up on YouTube because of how long these are and how big the files are. YouTube.com/Peas, Love, and Carrots. Thank you, shout out Eitan Bernath, for telling me that I needed a URL for YouTube. He talked me through that last night. He's the best. Now, a big portion of the questions that came in were regarding the mikvah. I do not feel comfortable talking about the mikvah on a public forum. I don't know who's listening. I did work very, very hard on my connection to the mitzvah of mikvah. And it is something I spoke about actually at the mikvah event a year and a half ago. And I do really love that speech. I don't know how to get that out though, because it is not something that I want teenage girls to see or men to see. That is my own personal feeling. I am not comfortable with that. So maybe one day we'll find a forum where it could be female only and it's a topic we could discuss. That is not something we are discussing here. We will slightly touch upon it when we get to feminism. Now, let's just jump right in. Okay, this topic is going to take 3 courses. We are going to start with modesty. We are going to slowly move into hair covering. And then we are going to finish up with the most, I would say, temperamental topic of them all. Feminism. Let's just jump right in because I'm quite nervous. Again, I would like to repeat that any beliefs I share are my own beliefs and they are not intended to be thrown upon you. I love you no matter what you believe, who you are, what you wear, how you act, or what you look like. Okay. Oh, also, yes. Sorry, I interrupt for a commercial break. If you order the book from Art Scroll, you get the tote bag. If you order the book from Amazon, you do not get the tote bag. Okay, back. Is my chair fixed? It is not fixed. Okay, we're gonna start with modesty. Any comments regarding modesty, how you feel about them, a wonderful thought you heard, something of inspiration, anything like that, this is a safe place, Danielle, don't be nervous. I am so nervous, can you tell? The messages were so all over the place. Like, first of all, some of the messages were filled with so much tension and frustration, which I completely understand. And then there was such a range of messages that I was like, oh my gosh, like no matter what I say, I'm gonna make somebody upset or somebody unhappy. So if I make you unhappy, I am really, really sorry. Again, these thoughts are my own and they do not serve in any way as a judgment or an indictment on any belief or values that are different than my own. Okay. Basically, we're gonna jump into modesty. So the first thing I want to talk about with modesty is that all the questions I got regarding modesty and feminism came in regards to clothing. So the first thing we need to know about modesty, and specifically the Jewish definition of modesty, is that modesty is not defined by only how we dress. There is so much more to modesty than just our clothing. Modesty is our overall being. Modesty relates to our speech, to our manner of conduct, to our behavior, to how we treat other people, to how we write, to how we decorate our house, to how we interact with our children, to how we interact at work. Modesty is such an all-encompassing topic that to limit it to just clothing is actually belittling the concept of modesty. In that light, though, how do we relate modesty to women? So the first thing to know is that modesty, as a Jewish concept, applies to everybody, to both genders. I think it kind of gets a bad rap because we're always focusing on the women. But, you know, when you learn about modesty in the Torah, then you see that it is clearly directed at both genders. And it's really, Yafa Palti defines it as discretion. I love that. It is definitely discretion. It is discretion. It's even more than that. It's because discretion implies not sharing certain aspects. But the thing is that modesty applies even to how you share what you share. It's not only about being discreet or, using discretion to choose what to share. Even the things you share, how do you share that? Do you share that in a modest manner or do you share that in an ostentatious manner? So before we jump into clothing, let's jump into speech per se, right? Speech comes out of our mouth. Everybody can hear it. It's visible. It's almost tangible. And once it comes out of your mouth, it can't be taken back, right? The ears can't unhear it. The damage is done. Now, what does that mean to speak modestly versus to speak, let's just assume that the opposite of modest is ostentatious, which in fact it's not really, but just for the sake of our purposes, what would that mean? So you could say, okay, speaking modestly maybe means not saying bad words, but it can't just be that. Maybe speaking modestly means not telling the world, oh, I just won $1 million in the lottery. But it can't only be that. Maybe speaking modestly means speaking with a sense of understanding that your words have so much power that you use them in a way that respects the power that the words have. And that's the thought that I personally came up with as I was thinking about this over 24 hours. If you take that thought and you apply that to dress, then I guess that's really how I personally feel about modesty and feminism. For me, dressing modestly means that Hashem bestowed me with this incredible vessel to contain my neshama. Now, if I had the most precious diamond in the world that was worth trillions of dollars, would I take it and put it in a cardboard box? No. I would find the safest, most secure, most complex, unbelievable safe to precious stone in. Hashem created a safe for the bit of himself that he instills within each of our bodies. Our bodies are essentially that safe. They are extremely complex, beautiful, intricately crafted boxes that house this incredibly precious gift that is our neshama. Now, the same way I want to treat my words with the respect they deserve because of the power which they possess, I want to treat my vessel, this incredible safe, with respect because of the power that it possesses, which is that it has the ability to contain a really holy neshama. Now, like I said, I'm not a Rebbitzin. This is my own made up thing. It might not be accurate. I don't know. But this is how I view modesty. So now that I understand that my body is this incredibly powerful, really, really special vessel that was handcrafted by Hashem, do I personally want to just go and flaunt it and show it off to the world? It happens to be that my body wouldn't be that, like, you know, it's not very flauntable right now. But even if it was flauntable, it's not a choice that I personally want to make for my body. However, I am not a Rebbitzin or a rabbi, so I don't necessarily know how to safeguard this vessel, that Hashem gave me. So what I do is I personally connect to the rabbis or Rebbitzins, you know, that we as a family, Ellie and I, he's sitting there, so I'm pointing that way, connect to, and they tell me to cover my collarbone, to cover my elbows, to cover my knees, and to wear stockings. So I take on that mitzvah, and that is how I connect to the beauty of dressing modestly. Now, more difficult for me personally, you see me, I am extremely passionate and loud and have a very big personality, is staying modest in my behavior. Dancing on tables is something I would potentially do in front of people. However, wearing a shirt up to here and sleeves up to here and stockings and, you know, a skirt covering my knees and dancing on tables does not fall in line, because modesty affects us on all levels: how we dress, how we act, how we speak, how we interact with people. And as a woman specifically, even though we know these laws do apply to men, it doesn't really matter whether it's woman and modesty. Really, it's person and modesty. And the thing is that I think that as a nation, we are so focused on the modesty of women that we forget to just talk about the modesty of a human. Each individual person, like everything else in this world, needs to just focus on their own modesty. How am I behaving? How am I dressing? How am I interacting? How am I speaking? And forget the fact that you're a woman or a man, you're just a person. And you just need to act modestly, because we were created, B'Tselem Elokim, we were created in the image of Hashem. We house a very holy neshama. My purpose in this world is not to just live in this world. For me, there is something so much more than what we see with our eyes. There's a whole world beyond this physical world. There's Olam Haba. There's Yemei Mashiach. There's the time that Mashiach is going to come and the Beis HaMikdash is going to be here. This is the tunnel. You know, this isn't the final result for me. So if this place is just the tunnel for me, then I want to make sure that I behave in a way during this time, and I work on myself in a way during this time where this is not the end. You know, like, I'm not here to just live every day as if it was my last day, because even on your last day, it's not your last day. There's so much more after all of this. And that's just how I feel. Like, why should this beautiful thing Hashem created be hidden? Do you mean bodies? Like, why should we hide our bodies? It's something I struggle with. So the way I feel is that if I had a really precious diamond and I put it in this really expensive, intricate, very complex safe, I would still hide the safe, right? Even if it was the safest safe in the entire world and it was impossible to crack that safe and nobody could open it at any point unless I was ready to open it, I still think I would keep the safe not shoved in everybody's face because it's so precious to me. I think it is hard for some people to channel their drives to be expressive in a way that is appropriate and modest. So I would say that is definitely a struggle for many people and in many different areas. I think there are probably women who would love to dress a certain way that can't dress a certain way and they feel that their independence is stifled. There are women who are very loud and very big personalities and would really just act however they want, express themselves in that very, very big, very overpowering way, and they don't, and that could stifle their independence. What I will say though is that I do not think that there is, this is the way I feel. The more I connect to a mitzvah, even if it's a mitzvah that I have a very hard time with, let's say for example, the mikvah, which was, I already said, very difficult for me, the harder I worked on connecting to that mitzvah, the more I was able to find a way to be independent in that mitzvah. So let's say like this big, huge personality, right? Like it didn't suit me to sit there with my hands like this and be quiet. It didn't suit me. And then Hashem sends Instagram into my life. Now, I can use Instagram in an immodest way or in a modest way. That's my choice, and that's based on how I define modest or immodest. It doesn't mean that anybody else out there is immodest or has to do exactly what I do, because my way is not the only way, and I'm sure there have been many occasions where I could have been more modest and I wasn't more modest. But I do feel personally like I have found a way to express my personality and not hide away my desire to be loud, loud and whatever, but I have found a way to channel it in an appropriate setting. And in fact, the challenge of finding a way to do that has made it so much more authentic because I really had to dig deep to find a way to do that. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Or he's not listening anymore. I think that makes sense. That's how I feel about it anyway. Okay, I'm reading some of the questions on here. Okay, hold on. What was the hardest thing about modesty for you? I think it's funny because all of these questions of modesty pertain to clothing, but there's so much more to modesty than just clothing. But I think we'll spend a few minutes discussing the clothing aspect because it seems like those are where a lot of the questions or confusion is. I would say the hardest thing for me was probably, I'm trying to think. I want to say my collarbone is a really hard thing. I have a very, very little neck. I don't know if you could see that. Well, nothing's little right now, but it is quite small, my neck. And I do have to very often buy shirts and even pin them or wear shirts that fit most people better. I know Mimi from Mimi Max always just why is there an undershirt under a dress? It covers the collarbones, but nothing covers my collarbones because everything just falls down. My mother wrote for me the hardest thing was covering my hair. She did try to do that. I think for a lot of women that's hard. I think for a lot of women short sleeves is a really big challenge. I got that in a lot of messages. I can cover my knees, I just can't cover my elbows. It's too hot where I live, and I understand, and I'm not judging you, and I don't know if anybody should judge you. I mean, I actually absolutely am sure that nobody should judge you. I am positive about that. And all I can say is she carries herself with more being in the business that so Tamara Bixer does people's makeup. She's amazing. You guys should follow her, Tamar_Bixer. She does makeup and hair, actually. She's incredibly talented. She does all my makeup for the kosher.com videos. So you can go check out those videos and see how good she is. Being in the business that I am, I find it after a young girl gets married, she carries herself with more confidence. I have the same neckline issue that only one person can see her beauty. Interesting. Meaning the fact that she dresses more modestly and that her beauty is saved for one person gives her more confidence. Is that what you're saying? Stockings is hard in the summer. So I have like super duper sensory issues. So once I got used to stockings, I literally wake up. The first thing I do is put on stockings. I need to feel constricted all day long. I don't know. I cannot wear stockings. I can't wear knee socks. I need to wear stockings every single day. I bring stockings with me to the hospital. Like if I have a baby, that's the first thing. I mean, when Yechaz Kumar was born, my grandmother came and like wrapped up my stomach. Yeah, it was crazy. But I wear stockings every day. Now I love them. I can't take them off. To me, it's not about clothing to me, but the idea, okay, wait, Pezlicious. I'm reading what she wrote. To me, it's not about clothing, but the idea that I have to sit quietly in a corner bothers me. Or that there are some activities that are off limits. But I like the way you described it. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you. So I would say that in terms of sitting quietly in a corner, it's not something I'm capable of either. But as it's something that I work on, which is still a process for me, I do see that when I go places and there is a woman being very loud and very overpowering, I do find it a bit like, it almost feels like she's more insecure than confident to me. I do think there is a refinement to not being the loudest person in the room, which is very difficult for me. But I do think there's a refinement and a sophistication to that I personally look to work on and to achieve. It's almost like she doesn't need to care about the outside world anymore, and she just needs to feel fulfilled for herself and her husband. I agree with that also. That is personally how I feel about my hair covering and getting dressed also. Like I think that if it does ever become, or if it is a value for you to dress with a certain level of modesty, I think it does show a level of respect to your vessel that you are containing. Meaning, like, I think that you're special. I think that you're unique. And I don't want to show you off. Not because not even just to other men, to other women. I don't want other women, I mean, it's hard for me to say me because, like, no other woman, no other person is gonna compliment right now. But, like, there is something special to not seeing the whole package every time you look. I think that's not about, a male objectification of you. It's even for yourself, when you go home and I'm trying to think how to say this delicately, but there's no way, so I'm going to back off of that. What is stockings? Is it halacha? Oh, I'm not answering that. Remember? No halachic answers here. I agree, but I hate that it's so often gendered. Men also shouldn't be the loudest in the room. I agree. I completely said that. I do not think that modesty and being taught dressing modestly and being taught speaking modestly and being taught behaving modestly should be only directed at women. To me, that's the biggest flaw in the system. The Torah does not distinguish between women being modest and men being modest. All people need to work on behaving modestly. It is a value. The same way all people need to work on being humble. The same way all of us need to work on controlling our anger. The same way all of us need to work on whatever midah, whatever attribute you need to work on. Modesty is an attribute, and both genders need to work on it. Why don't you wear wigs more often? We'll get that in hair covering. Hold on. I didn't get nude stockings in the summer. What makes it more sneeze? I still see the leg through. I don't get the point. Well, Cupcakes Creation, there are many people that agree with you. Personally, I don't. That's okay. I do wear sheer. I am wearing sheer stockings right now. You know what? I was going to lift up my leg and show you, but I'm not going to do that. Ellie was like, good move. But I agree with you. They definitely are see-through. I don't fully understand why it's better, but that is just the level of dressing modestly that I've chosen to take upon myself. You don't have to. You don't have to cover your legs at all. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you value the vessel or makes you feel like you are valuing the vessel that contains your neshama. Hold on. Hashem says that everyone should be modest, both men and women. Yes. There are much more halachot around women modesty than men though. Oh, we're not getting into halacha. Okay, so there's that. Do you put clothing limits on your boys as well as girls? Like at the beach, for example, I feel like a lot of people don't, and it doesn't compute with me. So if you're asking me personally, we actually do. Ellie feels pretty strongly that both boys wear a swimming shirt at the beach, even though we go to separate beaches, like women's beaches and men's beaches. He feels like there is a level of modesty that he would like our boys to maintain, as well as certain clothing items that I just don't buy them because I don't feel that they represent the way I want my boys to conduct themselves. But that, again, is my own personal decision because that's in line with my values and my beliefs. That doesn't mean that you need to dress the same way or look the same way. Everyone's on their own level, and I also think people do things even though they have no idea why. That's 100% true. I will tell you straight out, I have no idea why stockings is necessary. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I a little bit said that before. If your skirt is to the middle of your leg and you're wearing ankle socks and this much leg is showing, I don't get it. I don't know why any rabbi came on and said, okay, the legs need to be fully covered. I don't understand. This is what our rabbi says, so this is what I do. And I don't do it with any resentment. I'm happy to do it because when you find a rabbi that you connect to and that guides your life, sometimes you can say why, right? Like, but why do we do it? Why are we doing these things that we don't understand? I don't understand everything I do. I don't understand why some of the laws of kashrus exist. I can, like, we could literally sit here and talk about why any person doesn't eat chicken with cheese. Chicken is technically parid. It is not bisari. It is it's a bird. It is not bisari. However, Rabbanim came along and said that for now, chicken is meat. We don't know why, but we just do it because we also have to have belief in our authority. There has to be a level where we can't, there has to be a level of acceptance where you can ask the questions, but you can also be okay with hearing just because. If Hashem is our father, right? The same way I'm a parent, and sometimes my kids say, well, why can't I watch right now? And sometimes I give them a reason, and sometimes I say, because I said no. It's probably annoying for them, but they love me, and they trust me, and I love them, and I'm not just trying to be annoying. So we have a mutual respect for each other. That's literally how I feel about stockings. Our rabbi says cover your legs, so I cover my legs. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't devalue me. I don't feel like he's saying your legs are so objectifying. Believe me, they're not. Your legs are so objectifying to men. They need to be covered. Men are animals and you can't entice them with your legs and blah, blah, blah. I just don't think that's what it's about. I think that somewhere along the way, rabbis realized that women's bodies were extremely holy vessels that contained a part of Hashem that was so holy that it needed to be treated with respect. I don't think it was any indication of how they devalued women. I don't think so. Stockings don't bring me joy. So Mary Heft, if stockings don't bring, sorry, I shouldn't have said her name. I'm going to keep going. I want to make sure one day that my kids love it and don't feel forced. Okay, we're going to get to kids in a second. I think a person is happier to do it, keep the laws of tznius, if they're happy in themselves. Yes, I completely agree. But I don't think that's the thing, is that we're so often singling out the law of tznius in the whole concept of modesty. There is so much more to modesty than just how you dress. There's so much more to that. You know, you could dress in you could put on a burqa and cover your face and only see your eyes and behave so immodestly that you are not modest. If your clothing is covering up insides that are tarnished by poor behavior and poor speech and judgmental characters and character traits that are so unbecoming of a human being, guess what? Your clothes are not covering anything up. My clothes are indicative of what I'm doing inside. I am working on myself every day because every day I'm working to purify and raise the level of my neshama every single day. I am not a perfect person, Baruch Hashem, because once we reach Shleimus, that's it. I'm not a perfect person. I have so much to work on. I have so many flaws, and I'm working on them. And I think that's okay. Like, who can judge us for any of this? And I want to make sure that one day my kids love it and don't feel forced. How do you get, okay, we'll get to kids in a second. But what if you're so sensory that you can't wear pantyhose, or you just wear long skirts all the time, but my husband likes short skirts and I can't please him because I'm so sensory? So first of all, if you're so sensory, you should definitely look into that. Like, I also am pretty sensory, and like I just broke the door. There are like sensory brushes and things like that that can help you. Not so that you could wear stockings, just you shouldn't be so uncomfortable. And that, honestly, that's between you and your husband. Like, that's not a modesty issue, that's a shalom bayis issue. Like, separate the two. Either you and him need to see somebody, I think, and talk out why this is so important to him, and you need to either find a way to please him, or he needs to understand why this is so uncomfortable for you and really come to terms with the fact that this is not something you can do for him, and he needs to love you anyway. So I actually think that this modesty issue is really hiding a bigger issue that needs to be worked out. And again, I am really not a therapist. I should not have gone into that. But I do think you can talk to somebody that can help you with that actually is qualified to deal with that issue. With respect, why don't you ask the rabbi why about stockings? Because one day our girls will definitely ask why, and then someone who grew up wearing stockings and stopped because I wasn't told why. I definitely did ask the question at one point when I was in seminary or something. I did not take anything on without asking. Collarbones, elbows, knees. It happens to be in regards to stockings. Actually, in regards to two of those, like stockings and one other of those, I don't remember the answers. I definitely asked and got an answer I was okay with, which is why I took it on at that point. At this point, honestly, it's irrelevant to me. It's been so long. It's not something I'm willing to go back on. Truthfully, you know how when you wear a watch and then you take the watch off, your arm feels like naked and uncomfortable? That's how I feel not wearing stockings right now. So, like, I wouldn't go through that process of desensitization at this point because I feel so comfortable in my stockings. People who wear pants are very modest. Absolutely. There are many, I can think of a few people in my life I know that don't dress modestly, which, by the way, forget that, that don't dress, in skirt, however you picture, extremely modest, ultra-Orthodox women. And they are some of the most modest people I know in how they act, in their behavior, in their temperament. And actually, I would say one of them is one of the people I think of when I work on myself in terms of modesty and behavior. Hi, Dad. Why do you have to please your husband like that, though? That seems ridiculous to me. You can wear what you want, short or long skirts. I didn't say that. I didn't say that you have to please your husband. I gave two options. I said either find a way to work on your sensory issues so that you can please your husband, which, by the way, is also a completely acceptable choice. You are allowed to want to please people in the world. I don't know what happened with this whole liberal mentality where the only person you serve to please is yourself. It's mamish avodah zara. Like, we don't live to only please ourselves. If you want to be a functioning member of society, you also need to take into account other people and other people's feelings and other people's likes and dislikes. That is how the world works in a harmonious fashion when we try to do that for each other. Does that mean you should discount yourself? No, which is why the second option was, if something you can't do, then you explain to your husband, no matter what I do, I cannot wear stockings. And then it's on him. He needs to find a way to come to terms and never to say to you, but I love women in short skirts. That's not appropriate. And it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman or whoever's saying that. It's not appropriate for one person to put a demand on another person that they can't physically meet because it makes them uncomfortable. That's what I was saying. I'm getting so intense. I can't. I was like, I'm not going to get intense today. I'm not going to let this rile me up. And then I did. And your children notice your attitude towards Judaism and tznius, and that in and of itself helps pass down your Masorah in a pleasant way. Yes, blue neat, I completely agree with you. I think 80% of what we what we try to teach our children is actually taught through example and action rather than, demands and words and obligations. Hi. Oh, what? I'm pretty sure Abba just said no. You think I wasn't paying attention?
If you let.
I don't let. Stockings is more Das Torah. Okay. I'm not saying you. I was saying the other person that commented, not you. Oh, okay. For example, Kate Middleton. She dressed modestly. Okay, I wasn't going to bring her up because I think you guys know how I feel about Kate Middleton. I love her. I really do. And I'll tell you why. I think she can. The reason why I didn't want to bring her up is because what we see might not be the reality. It might be the reality. I don't know. That's why I didn't want to bring her up. Like, we don't know what she's like behind closed doors. We don't know what anybody's like behind closed doors. So I didn't want to use any specific person as an example. However, now that somebody else brought her up, I will say that from the outside, to me, she is an icon of modesty in her behavior, in her conduct, in her speech, and of course in her dress. She really dresses pretty modestly most of the time. And it doesn't mean she's always, covered here or has her knees covered. It's just her manner of dress is so sophisticated that it shows a level of respect to her body, even if her collarbone's showing, even if her elbows are showing, even if her knees are showing. She just dresses in a way where you could see that she respects herself and respects her body. And by the way, I think the same thing of her husband. I think Prince William also dresses very modestly. He's not running around and whatever, I don't want to give examples, but he's not, I think he also carries himself in a way where he is showing how much he respects himself. And I think that's amazing. It's a beautiful thing to please your spouse who you love so much. Absolutely. I like to think of it as we're queens, princesses. How do they dress? That's beautiful. That's great. Our children learn more from example and watching us than what they learn in a book. The reason for wearing socks is because the ankle bone has to be covered. Okay. Okay. Could you please speak about the kids' question? Okay, 1 second. I'm getting to kids in a second. What people are behind closed doors seems that way. And it's, I think, a good example for teens to see, what a princess would look like. Going away from sneeze, what if you're a very loud, talkative, friendly person? Hello. And someone else's husband starts a conversation with you when his wife isn't there. And the conversation is literally an hour long.
Okay, bye. Okay,
What?
bye.
Okay, 1 second. What if you are a very loud, talkative, friendly person and someone else's husband starts a conversation with you when his wife isn't there and that conversation is literally an hour long?
It's your responsibility not to make it an hour long.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
And the conversation.
Yeah.
And if the conversation feels immodest to you,
right,
end
you
it.
should not have an hour.
You are in control. Thank
You're
you,
in
Allie.
control. Right.
Thank you, Allie.
Like-
See, I needed him to help me see that clearly. Like that actually wasn't such a difficult question. Like, we are in control of our actions and the positions we're in. And if you are in a position where you are feeling uncomfortable or immodest, walk away. Okay. As a member of the royal family, there is a certain etiquette required from her, and that's really all Hashem wants from us. Okay. Oh, we're still on Kate Middleton. Okay. I'm just going to answer a few of the questions that came in really quickly. Let's run through them. What? Yeah. Okay. How do I keep pride in modesty in the face of adversity? That's an interesting question, I think, because the world is such a unique place that it can be difficult when you go certain places to stay modest. I will tell you, 2 years ago, Ellie and I went to Thailand. And in regards to clothing, I probably was about 40% more dressed, 80% more dressed than any person, right? And what? Right, Ellie's like, hey, he wasn't.
Actually, they're pretty sneeze.
He didn't see. Right, right.
They're pretty sneeze, modest culture.
Right, they are a more modest culture. But
Yeah.
I would say that there were times where I felt like overdressed. But I don't know, I didn't feel like I was weird or strange. I felt like it was obvious to them that I was dressing like this for a reason, and I was okay with that. Yeah, that's basically how I feel. Okay. How can we dress fashionably while still being modest? I thought that was hilarious. I have no idea. I don't dress fashionably. I mean, I think I'm like, whatever. But it was a hilarious question. I'm going to repeat the question. How can we dress fashionably while still being modest? It wasn't a bad question. It was just hilarious to ask me that question. I will tell you that there are definitely ways to dress modestly and still fashionably, because there are women here on Instagram. First of all, you can buy Annette's clothing. Estie's online. She just popped on. Hi, Annette. How are you? There are many Jewish women out there that are promoting fashionable styles in modesty. So first of all, you can shop modest brands that are constantly working really hard to keep up with current trends, like Estie's online, who is every season evolving and putting out new clothing. Rivki from Impact Fashion, and Mimu Maxi, and Hava Tribe, and oh my gosh, I shouldn't have started a name game. What? Daniela Faye, and Debbie's Dresses. Thank you, Ellen.
Pretty good.
That was amazing. And there are so many modest clothing lines created by Jewish women for Jewish women that are really incredible. Now, let's say you don't only want to shop, within the Jewish world, or you don't live in a place where that's accessible to you. There are so many fashion bloggers showing tips. I actually wrote them down because I didn't want to forget any. I didn't anticipate naming the brands, but so first of all, Fermi Taubenfeld does an amazing job. Adi Heyman, I love Adi so much. Like, she literally started a Jewish fashion council, like, just to promote modesty and fashion. Aisha Style, Fashionology by RL, I love her style so much. Toby from Toby Continued. There are so many Jewish women out there showing us how we can dress modestly and still be fashionable. And by the way, I just want to say, every single one of those women that I just mentioned, from me, Adi, Aisha Style, Eliana, Toby, and Fashionology by RL, they are all 5 so different. None of them dresses similar to each other. So there's definitely a way to express your individuality within modest clothing. I mean, it does stand to reason that the more you wear, the more options you have with mixing things up, right? Like, if you're only wearing a tiny little black dress, like, how many different ways could you wear the tiny little black dress? But if you put a sweater on the dress, or if you put stockings on the dress, or you put leggings under the dress, or you put a skirt under the dress, and then you put a tickle on, and then you put, so you're definitely not limited in terms of your individuality because you're dressing modestly. You maybe just have to work a little harder to find it, if you want. How can we connect to the mitzvah beautifully? I told you, the way I connect to the mitzvah is that I am a vessel, and okay, I'm not gonna approve of any Lashon Hara here, so we're gonna keep going. Okay, 1 second. The way I connect to the mitzvah is that I think of my body as a really beautiful, intricate, complex vessel that Hashem created to house a really special neshama. And the same way I would protect the safe of a diamond that was housing a diamond, I look to protect and respect my body because of its intrinsic value, because of what it contains. For me, that's a way to connect beautifully. The other thing that I do think about a lot personally, sometimes when I'm struggling, is I do think about Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, even though I know they probably didn't dress like this, they were in the desert. But I do feel like there is a Mesorah, there is a history of like mother, daughter, that please God, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be so cool that Sarah's going to look at us and be like, wow, look at how many generations it is, and they've kept it up. And she's going to be so proud of us. And I'm really excited to meet her and show her that. Our neshama has a body we need to protect. Our body doesn't have a neshama. Okay. Okay, let's move on to kids and modesty and passing. Hold on, let me just see that question that came in. 1 second. Okay. We answered that already. Have you tried the bobo under the mitpachat trend currently super in Israel? Oh my gosh, I have so much hair. I don't need a bobo. I could literally just put my hair up here and do it. But no, I can't have extra layers under this. I just wear the headband to keep my tichel in place, and that's it. There is a highlight, how to do it. There's a very fine line between giving over the mitzvah of tznius in a happy, pleasant, safe way and using tznius to body shame. There absolutely is. I am not even going into the topic of body shame because it's ridiculous. It shouldn't exist. And if your child comes home and tells you that someone was body shaming them, tell them to walk away. Nobody has the power to make us feel bad about ourselves. That's it. Like, I'm sorry, a teacher tells you that you're, I don't even care. Who cares? So many people say so many ridiculous things in the world. Like, I just wouldn't harp on it. I just wouldn't. Like, I don't know, these scare tactics and things like that, they don't work for me. But they don't work for me in a way that they're so insignificant that I give them so little attention. Obviously, if my daughter came home and told me a teacher said that, something crazy to her about tznius or whatever, I would sit down and I would have a conversation with her and I would say, how do you feel? How did that make you feel? What are your thoughts about that? And then I would say, are you interested in hearing my thoughts? And if they said yes, I would tell her my thoughts. And honestly, I would make light of what the teacher said because it's absurd to body shame someone into tznius or to scare them into being tznius. Okay, where do you get your tichels? They're beautiful. Thank you. Israel, the shuk, Mamilla, the mole, anything that spots my eye. Okay, kids, how do we prevent girls from hating tznius? I don't know. I mean, the truth is, like, body shaming only affects you if you let it affect you. Right, if someone calls me fat, I tell them thanks and walk away. I know I'm happy being fat. I love you so much, Annette. Oh my gosh. I have an almost bat mitzvah daughter, and she has a hard time with covering her knees, but all her friends dress like that. So what am I supposed to tell her? All high-end fashion magazines are supermodels. So it's tough. I have, Leah is 9. She's my oldest girl. I haven't really dealt with that so much yet. I think what I try to do is, like, I don't really do anything. I'm saying from a very young age, she dressed tzniously. I sort of took things on as they were required with school. So when she was, 4.5, 5 in Gan, she switched to wearing only skirts and not leggings because that was the school rule. When she went into Gan Chovah, she started wearing knee socks because that was the rule. She stopped wearing short sleeves because that was the rule, and then we sort of just carried it on. I don't think it felt like a thing because I don't get home and take off this clothing. I stay dressed all day from the morning till the night. This is the example they see. If anybody struggles as a teenager, then I'll deal with that then, and I won't judge them. I probably will not force my girls to dress a specific way unless, of course, it's a school rule, and then it wouldn't be about dressing. It would be more about respecting the rules of the institution you're in, which apply as an adult to work environments. If you're a stewardess, you wear the stewardess uniform. You don't show up on the plane dressed like me because you're required to wear the uniform as a stewardess. So I think in terms of school, that's how I would approach it with my girls. This is a uniform, you wear it. In terms of, like, outside of school, I don't know. I might entice to dress tzniously, but I think if I got a lot of pushback and I saw there was resentment happening, I would let it go. Or I hope that I am mentally stable enough to let it go at that point. But I do think I have a little bit longer to that. Do you ever not cover your hair in front of your kids? No, my hair is always covered. That's just how I feel most comfortable. Okay. Moving to the next topic. I think our tznius rules these days is also based on the world around us. Tzniut classic these days is based on looks from Europe. Do you think modesty changes with the times? I mean, of course it does. Like 100 years ago, women wore gowns every day. Women wore gowns, and wearing a little black dress would have been unheard of. Like, where would they even have found the little black dress? So of course modesty is subject to the times. Men didn't always wear black, and ultra orthodox men didn't always wear white shirts and black pants. that also came with a certain time period. The world evolves and we evolve with it. If a child dresses a way that's offensive, how do you approach that? I don't know. I will tell you, we discussed yesterday, I grew up in a very modern Orthodox home. I wore pants, I wore tank tops. It was very popular to have your belly showing at a certain point. And there were times where I came downstairs in the morning and my mother wears pants and tank tops and things like that. And there were times where I came downstairs and I walked into the kitchen in the morning and my father and my mother looked at me and they're like, go back upstairs. It didn't have to do with Torah or rabbis or anything. They were just like, you're not walking out of the house like that. Sorry. And I said, okay. And I turned around, I went upstairs and I got dressed. It didn't happen every single day, but there was definitely occasions where it happened. And that was also okay because mom never liked the belly showing, right? My mother, every day, pull down your shirt, pull down your shirt, pull up your pants, pull up your pants. But sometimes I did. And then I left the house and then I pulled them right back down because also I was a teenager. Just joined. What's your thoughts on... Okay, we didn't get there yet. We're getting there soon. Okay. Moving on to the hair covering portion of these questions. Do you see a difference in women that wear tichel versus sheitel? That was honestly the first question that came in. No, I don't even know what that means. Every woman is different. Every woman is an individual, so there are for sure differences between a woman that wears a tichel and a sheitel, but there's also women that wear tichels and women that wear tichels. Do you only wear scarves? Okay, I thought this question was hilarious. You must be new here. I don't. Actually, my parents love when I wear sheitels. They don't hate tichels, but they feel like I look like more myself in a sheitel. Why do I wear tichels mostly? Because I find them more comfortable. I really feel like sheitels, I have a very low hairline. There it is, a tiny little forehead. And the sheitels have to go really far down for me because I personally, as a choice, cover all my hair. I don't show a portion of my hair, which is a personal choice. People cover their hair in different ways on different, there's a range of ways to cover your hair. And I think people choose the way their rabbi tells them or that they feel most comfortable with or that they and their husband together have come to take on, and all of that's okay. Again, we are not allowed to judge anybody. And this is how I chose to cover my hair. So in that light, wearing wigs is a bit difficult because they come very low down in the forehead, which means that there's like zero peripheral vision, and I cannot have no peripheral vision all day. It just doesn't work for me. The thing that I always had trouble understanding, this is Tamara Bixer, by the way, was sometimes wigs are more attractive than girls' natural hair. I myself sometimes put on a wig for vanity purposes. How does that fall? Okay, I love this question. Fall under guidelines of modesty when you're supposed to be the most beautiful for your husband and he may tell you to put the wig back on. Okay. Our live is over. That was the first hour. I'm going to jump off and give you guys 2 minutes. We're going to answer that question about hair covering and wigs versus tichels and what if the wig is more beautiful than somebody's hair. And then we're going to jump into actual feminism, which I have 2 full pages of questions on. And of course, magazines and women's faces and things like that. We will get to that. So let's take a 2-minute break. Go take a drink of water. Put something in the oven. Do what you got to do. I will see you back here in 2 minutes to continue the live. I will remind you that the lives will be saved on YouTube. Yesterday's live should end up there today. This live will end up there tomorrow. Okay, we will see you back here then. Bye, everybody. 2 minutes. Okay.
Did you turn it on?
Just a second.
I'm gonna tell you.
Definitely.
Yucheskelmer is giving me ideas. Yeah. He wants me to do a giveaway. What should we give away?
For someone to join the live.
Oh, I was gonna give away like a week with you, like borrow Mayor for a week, see what a great kid he is. No. I was kidding. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back. How you guys doing? Hope that was a good quick break for you. We are actually having hot dogs for dinner. I made baked beans. We have sauerkraut, relish, the works. Basically, Abby in the kitchen 12. Check out your account. Okay, will do. Basically what I didn't buy buns because since I started this sourdough journey, I make bread like 4 times a day. So I was like, oh, we're gonna skip bread this meal because we've been eating so much bread. So I just bought like all the accoutrements and broccoli and things like that for the hot dogs, and they could just like, make a good bite on their fork. That was my plan. Okay, if you want to join the live when we finish the conversation, make sure you request to join now. And we are just going to jump right back in. We left off at hair covering, so we're just going to go through that really quickly. I don't personally feel like hair covering and modesty are intertwined, but the same way I didn't feel like clothing and modesty were exclusively connected, because I think, again, modesty is so much more than clothing. It's behavior, it's speech, it's conduct, it's how we interact with people. Okay, so in terms of the question that Tamar asked about that wigs make women look so much more beautiful, why is that okay? I don't think that there is no law saying that women need to look less beautiful. The Torah is not trying to make women ugly. It's just not. That's not our value. We know that Sarah Imenu was beautiful. We know that Rachel was beautiful. We know that Rivka was beautiful. We know that these women were beautiful, beautiful. We know that Esther was beautiful. Like, the Torah makes a specific point to mention the beauty of these women. It's just that hair covering is actually a separate law. Again, we're not getting into halachas. Maybe one day we'll do a whole topic on hair covering, which again, I'm not qualified to give because I'm not a Rebbetzin. But there are many reasons that women cover their hair. I think I can probably think of 4 different reasons that over the years, different shiurim and rabbanim that I've listened to. One is that hair is an outgrowth of your imagination and what it represents and the wildness of hair and whatever, and actually having nothing to do with modesty. On a very, very simple level, we know that hair is erva. And erva means it's a part of your body that needs to be covered once you are married. So, Baruch Hashem, I'm married, therefore I cover my hair. I don't think that there is I don't believe that the Torah is trying to make you ugly by covering your hair, which is why I think that wigs are perfectly acceptable. Now, within that, just like there is a way to speak modestly, there is a way to behave modestly, there is a way to interact modestly, and there is a way to dress modestly, there probably is a way to cover your hair modestly. If you are wearing I don't really want to get into this, but I'm sure every person's body is different, every person's face is different, every person's height is different, and every wig is going to look different on every woman. If you are wearing a wig for the purpose of being provocative, then that is not modest, right? If you are looking to be provocative to men or women, whether you're a man or a woman, then you are dressing in an inappropriate manner, right? Like, your body, whether you're a man or a woman, is not a sex object, whether you're a man or a woman. And to use your body like that is just objectifying yourself. And I think that it's irrelevant whether it has to do with hair covering or clothing. You know who you're dressing for when you get dressed. Some women are getting dressed for themselves and some women are getting dressed for others. Some men are getting dressed for themselves and some men are getting dressed for others. Who are you getting dressed for in the morning? I would say work on getting dressed for yourself. Look in the mirror and see somebody that you want to see, not that you think somebody else wants to see. And that's how I really feel about Jacobs. Your last live didn't say, yeah, the live did save, and actually yesterday's live is already on YouTube, so you can go check that out. Sourdough is an obsession, so happy you love it as well. I actually do love it. This was my 4th attempt at sourdough starters, and 2 of the attempts involved Chayesuri giving me her starter, and I still couldn't do it. But I'm loving it now. The process is so relaxing, actually. Okay, just say my comment again. Made me sad to learn that ArtScroll doesn't show women. You can't be in your own cookbook. To me, a woman's face is not immodest in any way, and she should be shown as much. So first of all, you haven't seen my cookbook, so you have no idea whether my face is in it or not. Second of all, it's not true that ArtScroll doesn't show women. They just put out a Rebbetzin Young Grace book with pictures all over it of her. Third of all, we will get to that in the feminism topic. As a man, example to our daughters to me. Modesty is to protect us. Okay. No, I don't. Okay, I hear that. I think that modesty that you impose on yourself protects you. Modesty that is like falsified in a way because it's taught through scare tactics or through the lens of objectification, I don't think that protects anybody. I think when modesty is taught as a personal, when modesty is taught in relation to personal growth and to self-respect and self-worth and self-esteem, then it does protect us, but only when it's in that way. What if your wig doesn't look like a wig and looks like your own hair? I mean, I'm not a rabbi, but personally, that's your choice. If you want to wear a wig that looks like your hair, wear the wig that looks like your hair. Talk to your rabbi, talk to your husband, and that's a decision for you guys to work out. If that's how you want to cover your hair, who is anybody else to judge you, right? Like, you have to feel comfortable with the choices you make for yourself. What about migraines? Can I get a heter? I don't know. It's not something I struggle with, so I never asked about that. A Rebbetzin told me that when she was just married, shaitels were unavailable and most frum women didn't cover their hair because they felt hats were ugly, etc. Now shaitels are available and beautiful women want to cover their hair. So it's amazing that more women are following halacha. Oh, my mother's back. Hi, Mom. I failed miserably at the starter. Annette, I do not believe you failed miserably. Why is dressing such a big issue? I think it's a big issue because honestly, I think the women make it a big issue, even more than the men. I think like if men were talking about it and we just like tune them out, they would stop talking about it. Every time we like give it more power and more, I think that we're like throwing fuel on the fire. Like, I think we just need to like chill on, on getting so angry about it, because if we didn't get so angry about it and we sort of just like let it roll off our backs and like women stop judging other women, then maybe there would be less to discuss. Interestingly, hair covering has barely any halachic sources. Right, as to the detail of what you actually have to cover, it basically all comes down to like what is accepted in your community. Okay, again, I'm not gonna discuss halacha. So there's that. If you want to cover your hair, great. If you don't want to cover your hair, also great. The halacha isn't to look ugly, right? The halacha, okay. I find that this move to Israel allows us to start from scratch and decide who we want to be without social pressures. I think it's way more lishma, whether we go more to the left or right. I guess anytime you move to a new environment, it's sort of an opportunity to reinvent yourself, which actually really points to how much we believe as just humans, how much it's human nature to represent yourself well, because people's impressions do mean something. We do want to make the impression we make should reflect who we are on the inside. And obviously the first impression we make to a person is how we dress. I am comfortable with people knowing that I am an Orthodox woman, which is why when I dress this way and I go to a different country or a different place and right away they see I'm an Orthodox woman, I'm okay with that, because that is the impression I want to give, because that is true to my authentic inside self. Is it true Art Scroll is closing their doors after they released the last few books? Oh. Wow, I did not hear that. Who's going to print the book? I don't know. I hope that's not true. Okay. I guess I heard wrong about Art Scroll. There's something about women not on the cover or something. Maybe I'm just totally wrong. Honestly, I'm Tali Reese. I don't know. I honestly never paid attention to whether women were on the cover or not, and I also couldn't tell you if there's men on the cover. I have no idea. I did look into your question though about cookbooks, and I do have a lot to say to that, but we'll get into that with feminism. Hi, Mom. My mother just writes hi every few minutes, so I know she's still here. Okay. we're going to keep going on in the questions. Why do you cover all of your hair, not show any? Because that is a decision that I made, that Ellie supports, and that is how I feel most comfortable covering my hair. It does not mean it is the only way or the right way to cover hair. It's just how I cover my hair. If you do want to cover your hair, you need to explore what is the right way and the most comfortable way for you. That is something you would explore with your spouse and maybe with a rabbi. Okay. Woo! We're on to the big topic, folks. Dum dum dum. Feminism. I was very, very nervous about entering this phase of the conversation because there were so many opinionated questions both ways. That is right. That is right. Both ways there were very extremely opinionated questions. Now, before we discuss feminism, I'm going to tell you what I did. The first thing I did was look up the exact definition of feminism. So I'm going to just start by telling you that there's like 40 different exact definitions for feminism, which means that feminism as a topic is extremely broad and also extremely vague. The best definition and the simplest definition I found was the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of genders, which basically means that women are entitled to the same rights as a man. Just because they are born biologically different doesn't mean that they are entitled to any different rights. Now, it does get much trickier than that because there are many, many, many different types of feminists in the world. There are modern feminists. There are, hold on. I'm just going to read straight from here because it actually does. Where's my last page? Oh my gosh, there are so many pages to feminism. Modern feminists, there's gender reform feminism, gender resistant feminism, gender revolution feminism, mainstream feminism, which is also bourgeois feminism, or white feminism. There is black feminism, which is like hugely tied to the concept that feminism and racism, and racism go hands in hand. There's anarchist feminism, which is like similar to like people that believe in socialized views where, all men should be given, should live the same way and whatever, and men shouldn't be differentiated from women. And then there's the part that I think most Jewish proclaimed feminists fall into, which is cultural feminism, which says that it has an emphasis on the inherent difference between the religion or the culture has an emphasizes an inherent difference between the male and female roles, and as such, the female role will often end up in a very patriarchal society, and therefore cultural feminism will look to sort of remove that aspect from women and advocate for more independence in the inherent roles that the culture sort of puts onto the woman, okay? So now that we defined, like, sort of in a very vague way, or we expressed really how vague and polarizing feminism can be, we're just gonna jump right into it. Basically, a lot of the questions we got were regarding the Torah's perspective on women, Jewish males' perspective on women, and the objectification of women in general. Now, Curly Lex is writing, feminism is having the choice to work or not to work, to raise your family, not to be forced into any of it, but you choose to do so because it brings you joy. So, first of all, I want to say that's probably very in line with my own personal definition of feminism. Bereshit says that the woman's punishment for the Garden of Eden is that men will rule over them in black and white. How do we get past that? I hear you. Huyim Shalbach. We've all heard that before. First of all, there is definitely a biblical concept where the male does rule over the woman, right? Huyim Shalbach. Chava ate from the Eitz Hadas, and she convinced Adam to eat from the Eitz Hadas and was punished. Childbearing would be very painful. Hu Yim Shalbach, he will rule over her, and a few other punishments. How do I feel about that? I guess we're just starting right at the beginning. It doesn't bother me. Chava did eat from the Eitz Hadas. If you go into like a very metaphysical, spiritual place, the only way to atone for the sin of eating from the Eitz Hadas was for each neshama to be broken up into 300,000 pieces, and each neshama each tiny little piece of Chava's neshama and each tiny little piece of Adam's neshama needs to fix that individual little piece. And once all 600,000 of those pieces are fixed, we can go to Olam Haba, or we can go back to Gan Eden. Obviously, it's much more complicated than that, and I don't know enough to even be sharing this with you. That's the truth. But in that light, there was a certain level of atonement that Chava, who was the mother of all women, passed down in her blood. The same way, if your mother, God forbid, has diabetes, and you are born and you have diabetes, is diabetes genetic?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know. That was just the example I chose. Then you inherited that from your mother. Is it a punishment? It's not fun to be a diabetic. Did your mother intend to pass that down to you? No. Is it something you have to live with? Yes. So that's how I feel about childbearing. I always ask Ellie when I'm in labor, I always say to my husband, how does anybody name their daughter Chava? However, we have to remember that Chava was a tzaddikas and in her own level, and we don't really understand what fully went on with her eating the apple, and how, if Hashem himself told you not to eat something, you would think, okay, just don't eat it. So obviously there's more to it than, I personally can understand. In regards to the punishment of Hu Yim Shalbach, it doesn't really bother me because it makes sense to me. When Hashem went to the sun and moon, and they were originally the same size, and the moon turned to Hashem and said, there can't be two kings in the sky. And Hashem said, you're right. And the sun is bigger and the moon is smaller. Does that mean that the moon is less important than the sun? No. In fact, the Jewish people are compared to the moon. The Jewish calendar goes according to the moon waxing and waning. We don't go by the sun. Our Jewish calendar is not 365 days. We're not revolving around the sun. Our Judaism is connected to actually the smaller of the physically smaller of the two, the seemingly less important of the two. I think as people, we have prescribed our own value on things that are smaller or things that we view as less important. Who said that smaller was less special? Who said that smaller was less important? Who said that smaller had less power? So it doesn't physically bother me, the Hu Yim Shalbach. When does it bother me? When a man abuses that power. Did Hashem intend for a man to use Hu Yim Shalbach to keep a woman down? Did Hashem intend Hu Yim Shalbach to objectify and disrespect women? No. Hu Yim Shalbach just means that you are the ruler of your home. It means that you have a different level of responsibility. It means that you carry more of the heavy, responsible burden on your shoulder in a way. It's not meant to be used as a way to disrespect or objectify women. And if a man is hiding behind Hu Yim Shalbach as a way to objectify or disrespect or, God forbid, abuse a woman, that is a bigger issue. And the issue is not the Torah. The issue is the man himself. The man needs to work on himself. So that's my first thought. The second thing I want to tell you is that I did grow up with a very Moroccan mother. She's probably on here. And I did grow up in a patriarchal home. And my mother also grew up in a patriarchal home. And her mother also grew up in a patriarchal home. And I will tell you that I don't think there is a day in my life where my mother has felt less than my father. I don't think she has ever, for 1 second, been disrespected or objectified or enslaved or bound to his word in any way. I think my mother has been respected and valued and loved and appreciated and put on a pedestal by my father. Does that mean that my father does the dishes? No. Does my father cook? No. Does he clean the house? No. Does my mother go to work every day? No. Does she take out the garbage? No. My parents have very, very typical gender-defined roles. My mother does the woman's job. My father does the man. Look at how I switched those hands. My father does the man's job. Neither of them feels, I believe, I mean, my mother's on here. She just wrote, I love Dad. I do not think that for 1 second either of them feels objectified or put down because of the jobs, the roles that they take on in their house. Now, Curly Lex wrote that it's a choice. Sometimes it's a choice. Sometimes there are cultural norms that are put on a woman or man that can feel uncomfortable. So there can be a woman who does not like cooking. However, her husband expects her to have dinner on the table when he comes home from work every day. I do not feel that that has anything to do with feminism. That has to do with a relationship issue, not a feminist issue. I mean, there could be a man that doesn't want to go to work and make a living every day. And his wife is busy at home raising a bunch of children, and she's a kindergarten teacher, and she can't make enough money to support their family because she's doing what she loves, which is great. And her husband doesn't want to go to work every day. When she says to him, get up and go to work and make a living, is she anti-feminist because she's telling her husband to go make a living? No. She's trying to get her family to have food on the table and clothing in the closets. And, you know, she's not putting a societal norm on him. It's a relationship thing. She needs to work that out with her husband. Hold on. Let me take some of these questions. I have heard in the past and really love that men and women are different biologically, and that leads to different roles being taken on in the house, relationship, and religion. Exactly, and that is basically the exact definition that cultural feminism looks to really blow up, because they are saying that cultural ideology where women and men are inherently different and therefore their roles are inherently different takes away the individual's choice to choose how they want to live their life. Personally, I don't believe that. I think that women and men are inherently different. We are inherently different. However, if you are uncomfortable in one of your roles and you are in a marriage, then communicating that to your spouse is something that is between you and them, and something that needs to be worked on, and not an issue of feminism or it's a relationship issue. You need to work on that. And by the way, sometimes the husband needs to give in and sometimes the woman needs to give in. Like, we unfortunately live in 2020 in a day and age where if you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. You can't tell me what to do. I don't have to work hard. What does that say?
Tablet.
No. Where, you know, well, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. Well, guess what? Life isn't like that. We don't get to do every single thing we want to do all day long, and we don't get to do only things that make us comfortable. It's really uncomfortable checking my girls for lice. I hate that job so much. But guess what? I have to do it anyways because it's just part of living here. It's what I have to do. Some things you just have to do. Like, if you are a parent, forget man or woman, you must provide food for your children. Does that mean that you have to cook? No, you don't have to cook, but together, you and your husband need to figure out a way to provide food for your children. Now, maybe some days it will be easier for him to do that, and some days it will be easier for you to do that. Maybe his job doesn't allow him to do that any days because he can't be home from 4 p.m. till 9 p.m. So guess what? Whether you're a feminist or not, or you're religious or not, you have to figure out how to put that food on the table. And it's not about feminism. It's about the fact that that's your job. It's your job as a parent to provide food to your children, which I'm currently not doing right now. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I got it. My husband does dishes and helps clean the house every night. Okay, that's amazing. Within the halacha, there can be ways to still make women more equal. So I don't know what that means, women more equal. Like, personally, I did actually go to Nishma for a little, and I was around a lot of women that was one of the questions. How do I feel about women learning Gemara? I don't care. Learn whatever you want to learn. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how would I feel about a man learning? I don't know. Is there anything that a man isn't culturally supposed to learn? I don't know. But I'm just saying it just wouldn't bother me. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to learn something, learn it. In regards to what I was saying, though, I will say that I do know that halachically it is acceptable for a woman to make hamotzi. So in some homes, the man makes kiddush and the woman makes hamotzi. Personally, it's not for me. I don't judge you for it. It's just not for me. I don't mind. I don't feel devalued when Ellie makes kiddush and hamotzi. I mean, Friday night, think about what happens Friday night at the table. We come to the table, we greet the Shabbos Malka, right? We sing Shalom Aleichem, and we welcome Shabbos into the home. Ellie goes to shul, right? He comes home, we sing Shalom Aleichem. Well, no, take a step back. How do we bring in Shabbos? Does the man bring in Shabbos? No, I bring in Shabbos. In my home, Shabbos starts when I light those Shabbos candles. I am empowered by that fact every week. 1 second, it's not Shabbos, and a millisecond later, it's Shabbos because I brought that into my home, and I love that. Then Ellie goes to shul. He comes home from shul, and he starts Shalom Aleichem. Great, thank you for starting Shalom Aleichem, Ellie. Everybody sings with him. Then what happens after Shalom Aleichem? Out of the whole Friday night, he starts singing Eishes Chayil. Does he sing Eishes man? Ish Chayil? No. It is only Eishes Chayil. All of my hard work, cooking and cleaning and preparing for Shabbos, is publicly recognized and appreciated in front of my children. And Eishes Chayil is a beautiful, beautiful tefillah. And it's a part of our entire Friday night. And it's amazing. And I don't think that, and then he goes on to make kiddush. He gives the kids brachas, Baruch Hashem. And then he makes kiddush and he makes hamotzi. I don't feel like I need to make kiddush and hamotzi. My question is if somebody's making hamotzi, are you singing a song dedicated to your husband, or do not allow him to sing Eishes Chayil? Because that's not fair, right? If you want to be equal, but be equal in everything. But no, it's not that you really want to be equal. You just want what he has. But why do we have to covet what a man has? We're women. We have so much of our own thing. Why can't we appreciate the things we have? Forget what they have. Forget it. Who cares? So what? They make kiddush, they make hamotzi, they wear tzitzis, they wear a kippah. They don't get to cover their hair. They don't get to light Shabbos candles. They don't get to... I'm trying to think. What else do they don't...
7 mitzvahs.
7 mitzvahs. Thank you, Debbie.
They don't get to do 7 mitzvahs in the whole Torah.
Right? Like there are just certain things that they do that we don't do, and there are certain things that we do that they don't do.
Like
and I personally don't have a problem with it because we're not them, and it's okay, and they're not us. And I think that the feeling of being respected and valued and appreciated is a relationship issue and not a Torah issue. If you don't feel valued and respected and appreciated by your spouse, whether you're a man or a woman, you need to talk to your spouse about that. And you need to figure out how to be in a relationship where both of you feel valued and respected and appreciated. I do not feel in any way disrespected when my husband sits at the head of the table and makes kiddush and hamotzi.
Look on the bright side, you sit on the other head.
That's true, now I do. I keep having to move down the table, Baruch Hashem, for good reasons. But that is basically how I feel. Different roles and different responsibilities for men and women does not mean worse or better. It just means different. Both very important. Right, exactly. I don't think that's what the Torah is saying. A lot of what is said in the Torah is difficult to understand exactly literally. Okay, I agree with you. If you really go through the Mishnah, there are parts of it that are difficult as a woman to accept or comprehend. What do I do in those situations? I kind of just ignore it, honestly. because either I didn't understand it or they didn't understand it. And I think that when Mashiach comes, that will be clarified. I do not think that Hashem created us to be lesser or we're not lesser beings. We're just different beings. And that is really what I believe. I cannot stand the word feminism. I think feminism in 2020 comes fully loaded with so much misconception that it's tainted. It's tainted the waters for women everywhere. Because, now anytime you do need to stand up for your rights as a woman, let's say, segue into Women Have Faces, all of a sudden, the world, and by the way, it's not just men, it's plenty of women out there also. I know because I got their messages that are against women's faces being in magazines, will say they're just feminists. They're just feminists. So the word has been totally abused and misconstrued, and that word needs to be abolished and replaced. Now that we have segued into Women Have Faces, personally, I don't disagree with anybody out there. I don't understand why mainstream publications, who I will not name, do not show women's faces in their magazines in a modest way. If they are uncomfortable because these magazines are being delivered to homes where men, let's say, don't want to see an unmarried woman with her hair uncovered, which, by the way, is that man's choice. It is not wrong or right of him, and it does not make you wrong or right whether you cover your hair or not. The same way you are allowed to choose whether to cover your hair, he is allowed to choose whether he wants to look at you if you don't cover your hair. That is what it means to love everybody. We may not like his decision. He may not like your decision. We must love each other regardless. They can make a certain standard. Okay, it's their publication. That is capitalism. Everybody gets to choose how to run their own business. It doesn't mean that I think lesser of you. This is just my life choice. So if I own this magazine or I own this newspaper and I don't want to bring a woman with uncovered hair or clothing that I consider immodest into, let's say, a very ultra-Orthodox home, I don't have to. Now, I do wish that there was a way for these mainstream publications to incorporate women's faces because, let's be real, it's not only ultra-Orthodox men that are reading these magazines. It is also women. It is also ultra-Orthodox, modern Orthodox, conservative, and reform women and teenagers and young girls reading these magazines. And there is a lack of role models for young girls today. It's not the 1950s. It's not the 1980s. It's not 2000s. Girls need to see a face. They need a picture to a name. I believe that very strongly, and I wish that they, instead of saying no women could be here, I wish they could say, okay, this is our standard. I hope you can appreciate that. As such, we will print your face if your hair is covered, if your collarbone is covered, if you, whatever. They are allowed to have their standards of what type of woman they want to print. The same way Vogue has their standards, right? Vogue magazine is not going to print a woman in a big baggy tie-dye shirt that is fully covered because that's not Vogue's standard. That is not what they want to present. So a magazine is allowed to have standards of what they want to present also. Just because their standards are telling you to put on clothes instead of take off clothes does not mean that they are wrong. I do think that a magazine today would be afraid to make a statement like that because there are many people that would attack them for that. You can't tell me what to wear. You can't tell me I have to cover my hair. Yes, they can. It's their magazine. If they are telling you we are willing to give girls a face to connect to, but this is the standard we're keeping, why should they be attacked for that? Would you attack Vogue for saying to a woman, I'm really sorry, take off your shirt? No, because it's Vogue. It's their magazine. You don't like it, don't be in their magazine. Don't put your face in their magazine. Okay, so that's Women Have Faces. That's basically how I feel. I do really wish that there were women's faces. In terms of my book itself, I will now address that. I will read the question again, which I thought was worded wildly inappropriately and not nicely. The person said, how do you feel about women's faces not being in magazines, specifically your own book, and writing for a company that doesn't publish women's faces? So first of all, I don't work for a company. I got a book deal with a company. Book deals are actually not so easy to come by. And Baruch Hashem, I was offered 2 book deals with secular companies, and it wasn't a good fit for me, because if I did sign those deals, then the book would not end up in any Judaica bookstores, or a significantly less amount of Judaica bookstores. And my primary goal was to make sure that every member of the Peas, Love, and Carrots community had access to the book. So the best route for me to take was ArtScroll. Now, I will tell you that you will see in the last page of the book, there is a spot for my face. It was a very strong request of mine. Unfortunately, it was not something we thought about putting in the contract when we signed the contract. I did think that we came to an understanding, and when it came time to print the book, I was not allowed to put my face in. I was very, very upset about it. You will see it. It's very well done because my graphic designer is amazing. Shout out Ariella. But my face is not in the book. The reason why we didn't change the whole aesthetic of that last page was because I do hope that one day there will be a time where ArtScroll will feel comfortable putting my face in. Do I have tainas against ArtScroll for not putting my face? No. Why? Because the same way I am entitled to make my own decisions, so is ArtScroll. They are their own company. I do not think that their decision devalues me. In fact, it doesn't in any way. It only disrespects or devalues me if I say it does. Because this is their standard. They are running their book. They don't feel that a woman's face belongs in a cookbook. Do I agree? No.
But also on one side it's your book.
Right, that's true.
On one side it's their company, on one side it's your
Right.
book. So it's a machloket between Tana Mama and Tana ArtScroll.
Tana Mama and Tana ArtScroll. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. Like, it wasn't in the contract. It is their company. It is their decision to make. They are publishing the book. And it's okay. They're not ready to take that step yet. Do I wish they were? Yes. Does it mean that they're the devil for it? Also, no. Just know people can make their own decisions, and we have to respect people's decisions no matter what. I'm in shock. I don't believe it. I don't know why you're in shock. Most ultra-Orthodox publications don't put women's faces right now. Do I hope that can change? Yes. Do I think that the From Women Have Faces campaign that Adina Flatbush Girl started is good? Yeah, good. Go for it, Adina. Go for it. Fight for the ability to put women's faces inside publications in a way that the publications feel comfortable with.
Women's are everything.
Not about devaluing you personally, but don't you want to support companies that idealistically are on the same page as you?
Yeah.
Of course I do. But like I said, this is 2020. You can't always only do 100% of what works for you all the time. I could have gone to a secular book company that would have put my face in the back of the book. But guess what? Most of you wouldn't have been able to have access to the book. Especially, we didn't know that obviously Amazon was going to shut down. But if I went to a mainstream publisher, nobody in Israel, nobody in South Africa, nobody in Australia, nobody in England would have had access to this book outside of the United States and Canada. So I made a decision based on what I thought was best for me and my book and my community. I would have had to make compromises both ways, because compromising is really like what life is about. Sometimes you do what you want and sometimes you give in. You want your face exposed in every Jewish home. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I did. I wanted every teenage girl to open the back of the book, and I wanted them to see my picture and to know that I look just like them. I am not a model. I am not fancy. I'm not wearing, I was actually going to wear a tichel in the picture. We also asked Das Torah. Like, my husband went and spoke to his rabbi about it, and his rav gave us certain guidelines of how the picture should look and things like that, because I don't want to be objectified by any man. And I'm going to get back to how you could get the book in Israel. 1 second. And we came up with a way that I was comfortable with, but ArtScroll wasn't, and that's also okay because they're entitled to their opinion. Basically, hold on.
I'm about to die.
If you're saying it's a matter of capitalism, am I supposed to not buy your book? Because I seriously don't support that. That would make me even sadder. If you don't want to buy a book that doesn't publish a person's face, you don't have to. Oh, so this is what I want to tell you. So what I did was I went on Amazon. So the person that said that my face wasn't in the book before they knew whether or not my face was in the book at all, because you've only seen the cover of the book, I guess was going off of the assumption that ArtScroll was unwilling to put my face on the cover. Now, why is that an absolutely absurd and ridiculous assumption? Because if you go on Amazon right now, 10 out of 74 of the top 74 bestseller books have a person's face or body on it. That's it. That means out of the top 74 best-selling cookbooks right now on Amazon, only 10 of them have a person's face. There is only one book in that 74 cookbook range that is published by ArtScroll. Okay? That means that it is not the norm to put somebody's face on the cover of a cookbook. Why? Because you're buying food. The food is the subject of the cookbook, so the food is on the cover of the book. That is why I found that question to be mildly insulting. But
Wait, I have a question.
yeah,
Why do you need to put a picture of the food?
because it's a cookbook.
I know, but doesn't a cookbook only involve like reading the recipe? Like the point of a cookbook is just the recipe. Like you don't need a picture or anything.
No, you need a picture actually for every recipe. It's hard to visualize what you're making without a picture. Basically, everyone sees you on Insta. The face is the face in a cookbook is reasonable sacrifice for better, more appropriate distribution. I hear you. Everybody sees. Okay. I don't know which way you mean for better distribution. Like it would be better for distribution to have my face or not. I actually think my face is irrelevant for distribution, and you should buy the book whether my face is in it or not because who cares? My face is irrelevant. I do think that the face does serve a benefit to somebody that maybe doesn't feel like they can cook or doesn't feel like they can relate to somebody that writes a cookbook. That was really the purpose and why I wanted my face in the book. Let's say for people that don't have Instagram or don't know what they're looking like or don't know who they're talking to. I felt like because I'm such a visual person, I personally do like to know what somebody looks like. I've had like a few situations over the past few years where I have to work with somebody virtually over the phone because I live in Israel and they're in America. And it is hard for me to not have a picture, a face to picture in my mind when I'm communicating with a person.
Take a bunch of strings and papers and print out their faces. So while you're talking to them, you could just like look at that face. It's not a bad idea.
What do you mean? Why do I need strings?
To hang up the papers. Like you take a clip, put it on.
But I don't know what they look like.
So
Ask them to send me a picture of themselves?
Yeah, what's the problem? I'm not trying to do it. I
Okay.
can ask for you.
Cookbooks with faces on covers are so often a book by a celebrity, and they count on the celebrity status selling the book. The recipes aren't necessarily good even. What is wrong with having your face in your book? What is wrong with people? People are bored and need help. You do you, it's your book.
You're right.
Do you buy a book based if it has a picture of a person or not? Personally, it's so rare for even a novel to have a picture of a person. I don't know why we're fighting for women's faces to be on the covers of novels. It's really, really rare.
What's a novel?
Genuinely curious. ArtScroll does publish pics of women, right? Like I said. So why were they strong about not putting your face? He felt like a cookbook was not a place where people needed a picture of a woman, so it was unnecessary to put a woman's face in a book that could potentially end up in ultra-Orthodox home where they don't want that unnecessarily, because it's not really a biography. It's not a place where you're getting to know a person as opposed to a book. However, I do think that this book is different, and it does have a story aspect to it. But I just think that ArtScroll didn't understand that because they're publishers, not they're not like they're not on here. They don't get what we do here, but that's okay. You know, we left this space there. Maybe one day they'll let us. Not buying the cookbook because Danielle's face not on it is obnoxious. Well, okay. Don't buy it. Think she meant that it's smart. Did Art Scrolls, okay. Cookbooks these days are not only about the food. They're right, I agree.
They're also about the passion.
Which picture of you should I tape into my cookbook? This one. Okay. Oh my gosh.
I got show.
Okay, it's not on the cover, but maybe in the back flap, and that's something that's very common in novels. Yes, which is why I wanted it on the back inside cover in the bio. This is so wired. It's not like we're not allowed to be seen. What's the difference in seeing a Jewish woman in a shul? I agree with you. I don't know. How many ultra-Orthodox men even open cookbooks? Yeah, none. Probably. Who cares if there's a pic of the person or not? You buy it because it's good. I hope so. I hope that you don't. That's ultimately why I gave up. I could have kept fighting for it. I could have gotten really upset. I could have said, you know what? If you don't put my picture in the book, I'm going to go on Instagram. I'm going to throw you under the table. I'm going to tell every person I know, and I'm going to do this. But I didn't do any of that. We didn't have any disagreements. We had a really nice, pleasant conversation. I did not feel disrespected in any way. I did not feel undervalued. I simply said, okay, because this is their business. It's their company. This is how they operate. This is their shita. It's their method. And I was respectful of that. The same way I think if I really, really would have pushed and fought for it, I hope that they would have been respectful of me. I may not agree with Art Scroll's face view, but I'm still proud to support a Jewish-owned business. Oh, thank you. I love Dovey in the background. Paste your own pic into your personal copy. Okay, maybe we'll start a paste a picture hashtag. Can you get the cookbook on Amazon in England? Okay, guys. Amazon is not delivering anywhere outside of the United States. There's nothing I can do to control that. That's Amazon's personal choice. Also, they're their own business because of the current situation. So in that light, there is no way if you live outside of the United States to pre-order the book besides through Art Scroll. Besides through Art Scroll's website. I do not recommend that you actually use that option because shipping through Art Scroll is very, very expensive because they are not really set up to ship internationally. So it is incredibly expensive, and honestly, just please don't pay that. Wait till the book comes to your area, to the local Judaic bookstore, and then you can buy them there. Or, in a month or 2 months from now, Amazon might be up and running before the book even comes out, and then you'll still have the opportunity to pre-order it. Please, God. I'm not saying that I wouldn't buy it. I actually already did buy it. Oh, thank you. But the discussion previously was that it's the decision of the consumers to decide where to buy them from. I think it's everybody's decision. Why does any one party have that power? And I think that's what feminism is about. No one party has the right to completely make any and sole decisions. Meaning it's the consumer's option whether to buy a product that they believe in, and it's the producers, the the creator's option to create a product that they believe in. Like, it has to work both ways. And by the way, that is how I feel about feminism. It's up to the woman to live her life in a way that that is respectful, so that she receives respect. And it's this in the same light, it's a man's job to respect a woman for who she is. Art Scroll has a certain standard, and who cares? It's all about what's inside. Don't judge a book by its cover. Thank you. Oh, that's so cute. Benny's just delivered, and they gave a free mask with every order. That's hilarious. Good marketing.
What is that?
Why does everything have to be so extreme? I agree with you. I don't know why everything has to be so extreme. I don't agree or disagree about the picture, but many ultra-Orthodox men open cookbooks. Oh, personally know many that love to cook and use cookbooks. Okay, that's good to know. Baruch Hashem. in book is serious trespass on Sneas. Guess what, Yenty? That's your opinion. And you know what? You are entitled to that. And I respect your right to not want to put your picture in your cookbook. And I respect my right to put my picture in cookbook, because guess what? Feminism is not only about women. It's like I told you, that word is gone. It's about self-respect and self-worth. And I, for my own self-respect, wanted my picture in the book. Was it an area that I was willing to compromise on? Yeah, because I guess at the end of the day, my picture in the book wasn't the most important thing to me. Does that mean that I don't deserve self-respect? No, because that obviously I don't think my picture in the book was the measure of my self-respect. But for you, if you don't think that it's a measure of tznius to put your face in a cookbook, then you don't do it. Great.
It says Benny's on the map.
I know, it's so cute.
Like in the zebra?
I don't agree with them, but I'm not into banning businesses. I will buy it if it's good for me. I feel the same way. Although I think I have banned, like I would not subscribe to the New York Times. There are certain things that like companies whose methods of business and things like that I just don't believe in, and I wouldn't interact with them. But guess what? That's my choice. The same way it's your choice whether to buy a book that has a woman's picture or not in it. Also, I just think a lot of women must feel how I feel, because the truth of the matter is most of the people buying these magazines are women. And if every woman felt so strongly about women's faces in the magazines, they'd stop buying the magazines. And guess what? Nobody would be buying the magazines. Their sales would drop, and guess what? They would put our pictures in. So I think that everybody feels like, yes, we'd love to see women in, but we also understand that it is their choice. We still want the magazine, so we're going to keep buying it. And hopefully one day it will change. We can merge the feminism and women's face discussion. When men try to help their wives cook in the kitchen, they'll be opening the cookbook. So we have to respect all views. Absolutely. Bring the book to Israel. Who cares about the pig? Pictures or not, I'm buying it to support you and love it. Thank you so much.
Who's that?
Because they've been taught, okay. All right, I'm going to start bringing people on. I think feminism is a hot topic that's going to take this in different directions. I'm not sure where it's going to go. If you want to jump on the live, stop buying the magazines, please. No, I'm sorry, Dina. I don't think it's your place to tell anybody to stop buying the magazines. If you don't want to buy the magazine because it bothers you that women's faces aren't in it, then you should not buy the magazine, and I agree with that. If somebody else wants to buy the magazine, even if it bothers her that women's faces aren't in it, but she wants the magazine, she's allowed to buy it, and she shouldn't feel less than because she's buying it. She's still a respectable woman. She's still a smart, intelligent, kind woman. She just doesn't feel as passionately as you feel about this specific issue. And it doesn't mean that she has less self-respect or less self-worth than you. I just want to say that, going back to the patriarchal home, I grew up in a very, very patriarchal home. The roles were very defined. My father ultimately did have the final say. Like, if my mother said, okay, you could go out, and then my father said, you can't go out, she could be overruled. But I want to say that those times were very, very rare because of how much they respected each other. I don't know why my father would have said you can't go. If my mother already said you can, he would have respected her decision and her thought process. I too run more of a patriarchal home. My boys don't get up from the table. My girls help me clear the table. I'm not embarrassed about it. I value it. I do bring the girls more into the kitchen to cook with me. My boys make kiddush on Friday nights. My boys also make hamotzi every Shabbos. My boys wear kippahs and tzitzis, and my girls don't. Like the traditional cultural Jewish differences between men and women are very strongly embodied in my home, and I don't mind it, and I teach my girls to love their roles. And if I have one daughter that doesn't love cooking as much, I also tell her that's okay. There are other things she can do. And if one of my girls wants to work, I say that's okay also. And, why don't your boys leave the table during the meal? Because I feel that it's a role cooking the food, setting the table, and clearing the table is a job that me and the girls do, and I do it very happily and very proudly. And while we clear the table, my boy sings miros and they tell divrei Torah. I mean, my apartment's this big, so they sing and we're in the kitchen and we hear it, and we're having a really fun time in the kitchen, and they're having a great time at the table, and we hear each other, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And they're providing us with beautiful Shabbos Nigunim, and we sing along from the kitchen, and I love my role. I love getting to, like, if everybody got up from the table, there would be nobody to do it for. And personally, I love doing it for them. Do you think if you only had boys, you wouldn't teach them to be involved in the kitchen? Right, probably if you live in a home where you only have boys, I probably would make my boys, some of the boys, or have a rotation or something, get up and help me, but that's not the situation I'm in. How does your daughter feel about her brothers not helping? Okay, well, that's actually a better question for me than for my daughters, because my daughters have each other, and they're actually the majority in our home. I, however, only got up from the table alone with my mother, and my brother stayed at the table. And I want to say there was definitely a time in my life where I didn't appreciate it, but not for any like feminist reasons, mostly because I was lazy and didn't want to do it. Really, I just didn't want to do the job, and I would have preferred to sit at the table. But you know, I did feel value in it. Like, my mother made it special. Every plate I took, every time I came into the kitchen, my father said thank you. It was appreciated. And you know, my brothers had to do other jobs that I really didn't want to do. And I told you, in the home I grew up in, boys take out the garbage. I never took out a garbage in my life growing up. It was something the boys and the men did. And in my home, Mayor's looking, it's something the boys and the men do also. And it's not the funnest job, the same way clearing the table is not the funnest job, but I don't know, it's okay. Thanks for telling the truth about you helping. I love that my husband helps to clear the table. I think it's important to teach boys. I think that that's great. I really, really do. Girls, please still marry my sons, even though I don't help them clear. I promise they'll help you clear if you want, because the main value that I'm teaching them is that in a marriage, you cannot stand on ceremony. Just because I grew up in a home, right, I'm the woman. So I was able to tell Ellie, don't get up from the table. But if one of my daughters wants her husband to help clear the table, I hope that their husband is respectful of my daughters and gets up and helps clear the table, because that's more about mutual respect than about a feminist ideal. I'm saying that I don't, okay. That is teaching by gender. Hold on, I'm going back. You personally love that role, but daughters can love to give divrei Torah as much as a boy. Oh, my girls do give divrei Torah, just not while we're clearing the table, at different points during the meal. There's so much differences between kids, I don't feel like gender too. No.
I showered.
Even my girls are so different from each other that, like, it's not across the board the same for all the girls. It has nothing to do with gender. There are just some kids that like some jobs and some kids that don't, and that's okay also. You know, like, one of my girls loves to sweep, so she sweeps. One of my girls loves to, you know, help, rinse off the dishes, so she helps with that. And all of that is okay. Okay, boys should definitely help. That's what teaches them to be. My boys do help. They help in different ways. And that's okay. We kind of have defined helping roles. I mean, they're a little bit fluid, but I don't have a problem with that. And neither do my kids. And I don't think my girls feel undervalued for helping in a specific way. And I don't think my boys feel undervalued for helping in a specific way. If anything, I find that it's empowering. Like, this is their job and this is their job. And they, by the way, they both have jobs that the other one wouldn't want to do. I don't think if you said to Leah Bela, do you want to take out the garbage? She'd be like, yes, I've been dying to take out the garbage. She'd be like, no, let the boys do it. And I think if you said to the boys, do you want to clear the table? They'd be like, no. So it works for us. If it doesn't work for you, that's also okay. But it's not about feminism. It's about how we run our home in a respectful, pleasant way. Okay, guys, the live is about to end. We got to come back in 2 minutes. See you in 2 minutes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I do want to make one more point about feminism in general, is that I do think that feminism as a cause across the board has actually done a lot to segregate women from men and make a distinction and a separation between men and women in a way that hasn't been positive. And I think that a true feminist, if we're going to use that word, is just someone that is equally respected. And obviously in situations like equal pay and equal voting rights in, secular places, and respecting, job positions and things like that are things that I do value and I do believe in. The areas where I don't think feminism, where I personally don't believe in feminism, is where it's gender reversed, where we're looking to overpower men, where we're looking to reverse the power. Or where we're looking to reverse the equilibrium. I don't think that women need to be above men or beneath men. Ellie works with a lot of companies and sits on a lot of boards, and he always says that actually the most successful boards and companies that he works with are companies where somebody is hired solely based on the qualification of that job. And often the companies that run their companies that way will have a very diverse board, because they're really hiring somebody who's the best person for that job, meaning they'll have people represented from different races and cultures and also different genders. He actually has had to work with companies that are all female companies, which is a trend. Which is an all-female law firm, or an all-female doctor's practice, or, like Beshita, that they're specifically all-female. And oftentimes they are missing something, because there's something to be said for both genders, and there's something to be said for no genders, just hiring somebody based on their capabilities. I do believe that women should be paid equally. I myself have also have also seen situations where I was not paid as much as a male counterpart, and it was very, very, very upsetting to me. Oh, I love that. And it was very upsetting to me, and I wish that could be changed and different. And when I saw that, I spoke up and I didn't take the job, because I was unwilling to work for a company that was not willing to pay men and women equally, especially, by the way, when I was the more qualified person for the job. To me, splitting those jobs by gender is like splitting it by kids with blonde hair, clear table, brown hair, do the garbage. What's the connection between gender and who is in the kitchen and who is at the table? I believe that there is a difference by gender. You don't have to believe it, and that's okay. That is totally fine. In my home, the girls are smaller, and we do different jobs. We have different skill sets, and I believe that my daughters have different skill sets than my sons, and my sons have more similarities in their physical skill sets than my daughters have. If I had one daughter that was maybe more skilled in the way my boys is, then yeah, maybe she would do some of those jobs. That's not the situation in my house. Who are you to judge me? Just because you want to give your sons the opportunity to, clear the table. Like, do you even realize how ridiculous what we're discussing is? Who cares who clears the table? Who cares how it's done in somebody else's house? What I'm telling you is that in my house, the girls are equally respected and valued as the boys. And isn't that that was the most simple definition of feminism? All 40 different definitions of feminism all boil down into the advocacy of women's rights based on the equality of gender, which basically means that everybody has the right to choose what they want to do. So in my home, this is what we choose to do, and ultimately we are respected and valued the same way we value men and women in my home. And I don't even understand what we're arguing about. Everybody is respected for what they do. What are some men jobs versus women jobs? Well, for one, Ellie is the breadwinner. I am not. Number two, if me and Ellie both have a meeting at the same time, my meeting takes the back seat and I will stay with the kids. Is it because he's forcing me to? No, it's because I want to. Because is his job more important than mine? Yes. Why? Because he is the major breadwinner to our home. And money is a very necessary thing in this world. Is it the ultimate value? No. Do we need it to pay for food and clothes and schools and cars and life in general? Yes. And oftentimes his meeting is monetarily more valuable than my meeting. Now, is that a black and white blanket statement? No. Sometimes I have something like the live that he knows comes about at 5:30 every day. And guess what? He doesn't schedule calls for 5:30 every day because we have a mutual respect. If he had a call that was so important, if he was closing a deal and it could only be done at 5:30 and the time couldn't be changed, I would also respect that because not because he's so respectful of me, but he is respectful of me and I would be respectful of him. I totally hear what you're saying on hiring the best person for the job. So how does that translate to jobs at home? Surely the best cook, regardless of gender, should be in the kitchen. That is definitely true. And there are many homes where the man cooks and that works for them. That's fine. I was just telling you how my home works. I mean, if you really love Wacky Mac, then Ellie would be considered the best cook in this home. But besides Wacky Mac, what else does Abba cook?
Wacky Mac, noodles, and
Pasta. That's it. Okay.
sometimes French fries. Like sometimes.
French fries?
Yeah, like once in a while.
So if you would want to eat that, Ellie would be the best cook for you. In my home, I am the better cook. That's okay. So that's my role and I appreciate it. I was also born in a home where that was the woman's role and it was valued and revered and the woman was appreciated and respected for it. And I don't have a problem with that. And I don't know why you do. The same way, I don't know why that's an issue. I don't get it. So if your daughters were stronger, then they would take out the garbage. I'm truly not judging you at all. I'm genuinely asking. My daughters are not stronger though. So that's not the case. And would they take out, if a boy wasn't home, that's not even the case. My boys are bigger, older, and stronger. So my boys do it. It's not the situation. My daughters don't make kiddush and don't make hamotzi. And yeah, once in a while, one of my little girls will say, I want to make kiddush. And I say no. And I feel confident in saying no. And I look at them and I say, it looks really fun to make kiddush. When I was little, I sometimes also wanted to make kiddush. You can drink the grape juice after kiddush. I will make sure that you get just as much grape juice as they got, but that's their job. The same way you stand next to me when we light the candles and we do our jobs, that's their jobs. And I've never had any of my daughters fight back or kick or scream and cry or hear that. Most of the time, they just want to make kiddush because they want the grape juice. But that is your personal situation. My husband is also the breadwinner, and I'm a stay-at-home mom who works part-time. Works for us, but it's not a value I teach my kids. I teach them that either gender can take their role. That is totally fine, because that's your choice. It's just, that's not my choice, and that's okay also. Just because you have a belief in complete gender role equality doesn't mean that I have to have that belief, and it doesn't mean that I'm wrong or that you're wrong. It means that that's what's right for you, and this is what's right for me. I'm not judging you because you want equal roles. Hold on. What happened? Come here, Baya. What happened? She got hurt? Okay. Can you get her ice, please? Okay, we'll get on speaker. It's fine. I for myself don't believe in gender role equality. I don't believe that the roles of men and women have to be the same. I just believe that there needs to be equal appreciation and respect for the choices that each person makes. Just the fact that Ellie is managing the household and children during this live is a testament of respect. He agrees this is important and plans accordingly to give you the space. Exactly. People have gone crazy with feminism. They want women to do things that women don't even want to do just because women's rights. So that feels like an extreme statement to me. I don't want to call anybody crazy. I think that there are a lot of women that are very passionate, that they would like to take on more roles that are culturally assigned to men. And if a woman really feels that way, then that I don't judge her. I still love her, and that's amazing. I just don't want her to impose those beliefs on me, and I think that's fair. Rice. Actually, he made rice once. It was rice with vermicelli. It came from a box, and I'm the rice expert now, so. In the Ksuba says clearly the roles and genders in marriage. Why are people so confused? Maybe not everybody agrees with that, and that's also okay. Okay, so somebody asked about gets. That's not really a topic I want to get into because thank God, Baruch Hashem, I don't know enough about it. All I know is that any woman that is being held prisoner by a get is in a very unfortunate position, and it is a form of abuse. And like I said at the beginning of the live, it is not something I can speak on because I'm not qualified. But I think, again, it comes down to respect. Both genders need to respect each other and treat each other with respect and dignity and grace. And, somebody's writing you should contact ORA, which I guess is an organization that helps women get out of marriages they don't want to be in. Okay, hold on. Let me see what is happening here. Okay, if you want to go on the live, you should put in a request now and I will bring you on. If you have something to say, you don't necessarily have to agree with my position. I will go easy on you. But you just have to be okay to disagree, which is also okay. What do you teach your children about gender roles? I don't. It's not something I speak a lot about. Like when it comes up, like if a girl wants to make kiddush, or if, there are times where my boys are in the kitchen and I'm making hafreshas challah, let's say, and, I think about like when my girls are 12, I would let them make hafreshas challah because challah is technically a woman's mitzvah. And if my son asked me to make hafreshas challah and my daughter was standing there and both of them were over bar and bat mitzvah, I would give it to my daughter. The same way that my sons make kiddush and hamotzi, my daughter will make, please God, hafreshas challah. And that's okay. Like, it's okay for some things to be special for women and some things special for men. The same way it's okay for some things to be special for Jews and some things to be special for secular people. Non-Jew Christians celebrate Christmas and that's okay for them. And Jews celebrate Hanukkah and that's okay for us. They're different and they should both be respected and we should both give everybody room to believe and practice what they want to believe and practice. What about a girl who wanted to say Dvar Torah? I said that. My girls do say Dvar Torahs. They don't say them when we're clearing the table because we're doing that, but when we're sitting eating, they do that. And they're not stifled in any way, academically, religiously. Hashem made different genders for a reason. Okay, and I wouldn't even begin to try to understand why Hashem does what he does. The reality is that everything in this world comes down to respect, and I think that's the piece of feminism that I so often find missing. Sometimes I find that radical feminists are so busy fighting for feminism that they're not being respectful of the other gender and they're not being respectful of the other women that don't agree with them. And, it defeats the whole purpose because not everybody has to agree with you. Not everybody has to be on the same page. And whether you're a man or woman, we're all people and we all need to be respected for who we are and what we believe in. Okay, hold on. Who was that requested to come on? Let me go back. I did see. Oh, wait, where did that go? Uh-oh, I lost it. Can you request again if you want to join? It disappeared. Hold on. I also just want to say, if I came into your home and a woman made hamotzi, I wouldn't think any less of that woman. Even though that's not my belief, I wouldn't think that, she's one of those, or she's a feminist, or just because she makes hamotzi, she doesn't shave her legs, or just because she makes hamotzi, she doesn't respect her husband. Just because a woman does one thing or a man does one thing doesn't mean that one thing defines their entire life and who they are. We should not judge any human being based on one action that we see them do. Oftentimes we see such a small portion of a person that any judgment we make based on that portion is automatically wrong.
Can you send this to Mimi?
Yeah, can you wait 1 second?
Sure.
Just because of the fact that we don't see enough of the picture to really make a proper judgment. Yes, my partner hates when he hears men say babysitting. Oh, I think all women don't like that. There are some things that all women do agree on and all men do agree on. And I think when one parent calls watching their children babysitting, it is very frustrating for the other party. I just sort of feel like the world needs to lighten up. Everybody needs to lighten up People telling everybody to do you, you also need to lighten up. People telling everybody not to do you and do something else, you need to lighten up. People telling everybody to listen to diets, need to lighten up. People telling everybody don't you dare listen to diets, you also need to lighten up. People telling everybody you shouldn't listen to that music, you shouldn't let your kids play violent video games or they'll become murderers, you need to lighten up. People telling people you should play video games because it's good for their development and blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Lighten up. There is no black and white, right or wrong in this world, and there are too many definitive globalized statements being made, and it's so damaging to the world we're in. And you see it play out in politics. You see it play out in parks with kids. You see it play out in schools. Globalization and, globalization of concepts is just, it doesn't make any sense, because at the same time the world is telling you be an individual, be an individual, be an individual, but don't be too individual, because if you're too individual and if you have an opinion that's different than mine, no, that's no good. No. Everybody find a balance. Be an individual and still be a mensch. Someone tells you can't divorce your husband even though he's abusive, lighten up. Who said that? See, did I say that? I absolutely did not say that. I don't even know what to do with that comment. Is that a real situation? Is that a joke? Was that sarcasm? As in the rabbis. Is every rabbi telling women not to leave an abuse? I told you at the beginning, you're not saying honestly, because you don't know every single rabbi. And no, it's not a joke, which is why this should not be said lightheartedly. There is no across the board where every rabbi is telling abused women to stay in marriages. Every single marriage and single situation needs to be taken in their own situation. And this is just not even something I can comment on. Like I said at the beginning of the first live, I did see that in the comments. If you are in a relationship that is physically, emotionally, or spiritually, or psychologically abusive, please get help. You can speak to Shalom Task Force. You can speak to OHEL. You can speak to Amudim. There are organizations that will reach out and help you. I am not qualified to take on that subject, and I don't want to, God forbid, say anything that could possibly cause any more hurt or damage. And I don't even believe that has anything to do with feminism, because abuse is abuse, whether you're a man or a woman. And by the way, men can be abused the same way a woman could be abused. And I don't know the statistics or demographics. I don't want to get more into it, but abuse is wrong no matter what gender you are. Okay. Okay. I think we're going to end here. I think that... I know, I'm about to hang up. I think that the main point that I want to get across from all the questions I see is that no matter what gender you are, no matter what your role is in this world, I think that the best way to get respect is to respect yourself. And if you don't feel respected, then you need to make a change, no matter what your role is, whether you are a man or a woman. And I think we need to learn to be more accepting and forgiving of each other, and to not judge people based on their values. And if you have a value that you feel very strongly about, that is wonderful and beautiful, and more power to you, and nobody has to agree with you. And it doesn't take away from the value of your opinion at all. I am a woman. I am proud to be a woman. I am proud of my role. I feel valued, I feel honored, I feel respected every single day of my life. I love doing dishes, I love taking care of my home, I love making dinner, I love watching my children when my husband goes to shul to say mincha. I love all of those things, and I am a respectable human being. And I love Hashem, I love His Torah, and I love my role in His Torah. And I feel really good about that. And I would not ever want any woman to take that away from me because she feels that my role is inadequate. Only I can decide if my role is inadequate. And I don't. So Baruch Hashem for that. Okay. You're all amazing. Okay. Oh, okay. Somebody wants to join the live. Let's bring her on. Hold on. I think her name is Lila. Lila?
Oh, sorry. No, I
That's
didn't
okay.
realize I was going to be live.
Do you want me to exit? I can exit.
You can exit. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Anyway, Lila Laybilla's English name is actually Lila. It was my grandmother's name. We love that name. Okay, Leora, before I put you on, I'm going to ask you, Leora, do you want to join the live?
What?
You have to write yes or no if you want to join the live. I just don't want to bring anybody on that doesn't want to be on. If you want to be on, we'll bring you on. If not, we will end here. Should I tell you guys about tomorrow's topic?
Tell them about after tomorrow's topic.
What's after tomorrow's topic?
My birthday topic.
Oh, that's true. Dobie's birthday is coming up Thursday night, Friday.
Oh, she answered back.
Lamed Ba'omer. Kaf B'Iyar, the 15th of Iyar.
You know what? Let's give them a guessing, okay? We're going to do a challenge.
I want to ask you a serious question, but answer seriously, okay?
Yes. Yes.
In our home,
Yes.
I do some things and Abba does some things.
Yeah.
Do you think any of us are like more important in this home?
No.
We're both equally important?
Yes.
I think you're more.
But I'm not saying that you're not equally important because he's important in some ways and you're important in some ways.
Okay. That
I
is an
would
excellent
say-
place. That is an excellent place to end.
Can we end with a song? Because I don't understand Abba's business on speaking on the phone. I'll tell you what he does. Let's say there's a company. Let's talk about ShareNet, which is a real company. I don't understand how speaking on the phone. Let's say they take a lot of money from ShareNet. I'm just saying. And then they take a lot of money and they give them back even more money, right? See, he's nodding his head yes.
What's that called?
I don't know.
Ding, ding, ding.
Venture capital.
I think that if you, treat each other with respect and with respect and you honor each other, then I think even your children will pick up on the fact that
Learn from the elderly.
I'm not elderly. I'm just elder.
Well, it's you and I, so it's the elderly.
The plural of.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, I am signing off now. I just want to say that I love all women, I love all men, and I love
Peace,
and
loving
respect
carrots.
myself, no matter what your role is.
Elderly.
But no matter what your role is in this world or what you choose to do
And
with your
you
role
think
in
you
this
have a
world,
piece of
everybody,
heart.
yes,
Because peas, love, and carrots.
exactly, everybody
piece of
deserves
heart.
to be respected and loved for who they are, whether they agree with your opinions or not, and whether we agree with their opinions or not. Okay, we are sending everybody here love and respect.
Dovey's
Remember?
gonna go, and he's gonna say, Dovey's gonna go, and he's gonna say carrots out, and then he's gonna walk away.
One day,
And then I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna say love out, and then I'm gonna walk away, and then you're gonna go say peace out, and then shut it off. Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great
Okay.
idea.
okay, everybody, I'm signing off. It is
Carrots
for
out. Love out.
peas out. But also, all of the lives are saved on YouTube. The lives from yesterday about religion are up there. You can go check them out. This live and the hour before and the hour before that will all be on YouTube up tomorrow, so you can watch them then. Thank you all for joining. You are all amazing. We will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Peace out. There we go.
Love out.
Carrots out.